Hello everyone, welcome to Chess with ChessFalcon. Today we'll be going over how to correctly solve puzzles. So we have here on chess.com Puzzle Rush, we have here some survival, and it is white to move, black has just taken the queen, and that move is a serious blunder. But before we start talking about this, I would like to say that the techniques I'm going to tell you about how to solve puzzles apply to no matter what you're doing in chess. It applies to, you can do it, I recommend you do it whenever you start a puzzle, but it works every single time your opponent makes a move. It's very beneficial if you do this. So what I'm talking about is whenever your opponent makes a move, you have to take a look at the position. First, you have to look at captures. First you have to look at checks. So this position, white has a check here against the black king, and then after you look at checks, you have to look at captures. After you look at captures, you have to think about your opponent's move, and then this is also captures with check. So it sort of combines both of them. But after you look at at captures and checks, you have to look at what has my opponent's move changed in this position. So and then you also have to take stock of the material. White has, I believe, one more pawn than black. But black is up a queen for a bishop. But in this position, in this exact position, the answer is to solve it. You have to look at first checks, which is check, which happens to be mate, but that's beside the point. You have to look at checks first, then captures, then think about what your opponent's move has done to change the position. And this one, this is correct. Rook takes e8 is checkmate. So first we look at the opponent's move. This move is really weird. I'm sorry, that's not what we look at first. First we look at checks. So we can take on f7 with the bishop. We can take on f7 with the knight, but that's not a check. We can take on f7 with the queen. Is that checkmate? It sure looks like it. There's nothing defending it. Pretty sure that's the answer. So here, queen to c1. That's the opponent's move. First, we look at checks. Is there any checks we can give? We can do one on c1. Is there any captures we can do? No, not really. Is there any... What does my opponent's move change about this position? Well, since the queen was on d1, I couldn't check here because the queen is protecting it. Since the queen moved here, I can now check on d1. I'm pretty sure that looks like mate, because after queen d1, only defense, queen takes, and there's nothing guarding the back rank. So I'm pretty sure that's it. Yep. So queen takes f4. That is a huge blunder. I know why, but let's see. First, can we put the king in check? No, we cannot. Can we capture any material? No. You also have to look at weak squares in your in the position. So in this position, this pawn is really weak, but I don't see any concrete way to take advantage of it. The king is really weak, but it's black to move, so you can't really do anything about that. You also have to look at what your opponent. Remember, you have to look at what your opponent's move has changed about this position. In this position, the black queen took on f4, the pawn on f4, and you have to look at, since it doesn't look like black has anything here, but in fact he does. If you cannot find it, then I suggest you take a look at the whole position, and then figure out like what about my position in the board has changed since my opponent's last move. So you also have to look at the weaknesses. The king is very weird, I don't know, it's really weird here on c1, and it can be taken, and the queen takes f4 can be taken advantage of because of that. Because of bishop h6. Bishop h6 pins the queen along the diagonal. If you didn't see it, the way you can see things like this is you just have to do a lot of puzzles like this over and over again and sort of get your pattern recognition and you instinctively notice things like this weak diagonal here. And the rook is protecting the bishop. So after a queen takes, the rook takes. So bishop takes, f5, and already this is a really interesting move. Can I put the king in check right now? No, I cannot. Can I take anything? No. What are the weaknesses in the position? This pawn is really weak here, and the king's really weak along the dark squares here. But I don't see a way I could take advantage of that. What was my opponent's last move changed? Well, it looks like the queen can be trapped with knight to f6. Because the queen, well, the queen looks really weak now. It cannot take on g5 because the queen is protecting it. Cannot go here, cannot go here, and it can't go here. Oh, of course it can't go there. And it cannot go here because the knight has covered it. And if the bishop check, then you just simply win a piece. So I'm pretty sure that's it. And then knight takes. So rook to rook a, well, rook d1. Then you have to look. Can I give a check first? Well, I can. Yes. Rook check. Then knight check. And then can I take any pieces? I can take the c4 pawn, but that doesn't look great. You have to then assess the weaknesses of the position. This pawn's really weak. The bishop is like doing nothing, and well, that's about it. The king is really weirdly placed on g8, but there's nothing white can really do at the moment. So let's go back. Let's take a look at the checks. This check, after rook h1 check, king f2, and I'm not seeing a way that black gets anything. But let's take a look at the other check. Knight e2 check. Attacks the king has to go up, and then what? Oh, take a look at this. It attacks the queen from there too. Pretty sure that's it. And then just knight takes. So rook to f4, the idea is to take on g4 check and win the queen, but there is something wrong with this move. First, take a look at the checks. I have queen d7 check, and then that sort of attacks, that wins, by the way, that's the answer. But you also have to look at the captures before you decide in your mind that this is correct. There are no captures in this. Oh, I guess there's queen takes h7 and queen takes c7, but those moves are horrible. Then you have to look at your opponent, what your opponent's move has changed into weaknesses in the position. The rook is no longer defended here. That's also the weakness here, and it's pretty sure it's this, and just takes in the mate next move. So a4, what is, you have to take a look at the captures. Since there are no checks in this position, you have to look at the captures. Captures on a4, b takes to a4, and then I don't see a whole lot. You also have to take a look at the weaknesses, and also what your opponent's move has changed. The weakness is this backwards pawn here, but white's pieces are sort of not doing anything, and also there's this pin on this diagonal. On this file. Is there any way I could take advantage of the pin? I can't exactly take here because rook takes, then rook takes my rook. That loses. But I can push this pawn here and take advantage of this pin here. After a pawn takes, I just take back with this pawn. Oh, it finished. Okay, so what about this position has changed? Back push this pawn to f5, and then well, I guess here there is two checks. There's a check on g7, there's a check on c6. The check on g7 doesn't do anything after king takes g7. And the check on g6, rook takes. But there's an idea with that. Here, we're in this position, you have to look at the weaknesses. Black is trying to queen this pawn but the rook is stopping it. If we can play rook c6 and divert the rook, then we can promote it. I figured this out just because I know this pattern, and also because I took a assessment of the weaknesses in the position and what the pieces are doing. This rook is trying to stop this pawn from promoting. If I can remove the rook, rook takes, and it's forced, then I promote to a queen. Queen. Okay, so king to g7. Can I give any checks? Yes, I can. g4, g3, g5, and f6, and I guess f7 and f8, but those are bad checks. Can I take any pieces? I can take the knight on h6. I can't take the knight on, the pawn on c7, and that's about it. And then, so let's take a look at the checks first. Queen g3 check, or g4 check, or g5 check. The king, I believe, just goes back to f7. And then it sort of repeats, and maybe the king can't escape out this way. But after queen f7, not f7, f6 check, the king has only one square to go to, h7. Can we check after that? We can go to e7, we can take, go to f7, we can take the knight on h6. But that doesn't do anything. Do we have any other checks? Yes, we do. We have knight g5. After queen f6 check, the king has to go to h7, we have knight to g5. Check. Looks like the king can move, so after queen takes, we just take the queen and we win. Any other things? No, I'm pretty sure that's it. So after f3, this is a common pattern, by the way. We win here. What do we have any checks? Yes, we do. Queen h4 check. Do we have any captures? No, not exactly. I guess we can take on e2, d2, but that's pretty bad. What about this position has changed since my opponent has made his last move? f3 weakens this diagonal, but is there a way I can take advantage of it? Yes, remember this check. Queen h4 check, but after g3, what do I do? Well, each move is made, you have to take a look at, you have to assess in your mind what each move changes in the position. After g3, you have a nice move here. Notice how this, after queen h4 check g3, this pawn is pinned right here. Because if you take it with the knight, for example, then after h6 g4, then you take the rook. So that's a pin. So after the answer indeed is queen h4 followed by knight 6 g3. But how did I figure that out? I simply took a look at first the checks, then the captures, then I made an assessment in my mind about the position. You have to do this after every single move, just to make sure that like you can be like queen h4 check. Okay, I'm going to do it. Then g3, and you're like, oh, I didn't see what to do. But you have to, after each move, when you're calculating, you have to make an assessment of the position. And just so happens that this move just win. Because if king f2, king f1, you check me on f2. And then, of course, the pawn is pinned. Then we just win. So after rook to there, this is actually a toughish puzzle, I would say. The first thing that checks into position is that there's one check. Sorry, we have to do it. Check, then rook takes. But do you have any captures? No, we don't. But if you take an assessment of the position, white is trying to queen this pawn. And also the back rank is really weak. But that's why the rook had to go down. So after c6, what does black do? I guess he can play e4. There are many opportunities. I'm pretty sure c6 is the only move. Just because, what else are you going to do? You can't push d4, e takes d4. If you push f4, that's just bad. You can't make any other pawn moves that sort of like make your position better. c6 helps your position. Oh, the king is going to f7 now. The position has changed. The king is going to be now cannot be backranked, so the rook can be able to take this pawn without fear of being checkmated. What about this position has changed? Well, now the king is now we can push here. Then after rook to c8, the position has changed now. Notice how the king is still on the back rank. Our deal with b7 was to check here and promote our pawn after rook takes b8, c takes b8. But after rook to c7, stopping the pawn from promoting, rook b8 pins the rook to the king, and then you can't take because then you promote. So I'm pretty sure that's it. Oh, okay. King to f7 is another defense. The idea is that after rook to b8, rook b8 is no longer check. But what has changed? Well, the only thing that changed is that the king is would no longer be in check. So can we still do our idea? Yes, we can. Because if rook takes, then we promote our pawn. And if rook check, we just move our king up and still promote our pawn. Okay, so what in this position has changed? After g6, we have a check. We have a check here. We have a check here, and we have a check here. Oops. Then we also have rook takes g6 check. If the queen wasn't pinned, we gotta look at the next, take an assessment of the position. The queen is pinning the rook. So we would love to be able to play rook takes g6 because that leads to checkmate, but the queen is pinning it. Anyways, let's take a look at the weaknesses of the position. G6 may have stopped checkmate because if it was white's turn move, well, I guess it doesn't stop checkmate. Anyways, it is queen takes g6 is a capture. I don't see anything after queen h7, queen h8, so queen takes g6 looks like it might be it. After king to h8, what do we do? Well, what in the position has changed after king h8? Well, this pawn is removed, and then we can check the king. Let's look at the checks. Queen takes g6 check. We can't go to g7 because then you get checkmated on g7. So after queen takes g7 check, you have to go to g6 check. You have to go to h8. Do we have any checks? Yes, we can go back to h6. After h6 check, what happens? The king cannot go anywhere. You have to block with the rook. So after blocks with the rook, what in the position has changed? Well, if you take a look, this rook no longer protects this rook, and this queen is on h6, so we can't just take and then checkmate. And that is mate, my friends. So after rook b6, do we have any checks? Yes, we can check here, we can check here, we can check here. But it doesn't look like those do anything. Let's take a look at the captures. Can we capture anything? We can capture on h7 and on g6, but those don't do anything. Let's take a look at the weaknesses of the position. The king cannot move anywhere. If you could somehow further attack this weak pawn here, then we'd win. Just because the king can't move or defend the pawn well. So is there a way we can do that? Yes. We have rook to e7. But wait. What in the position has changed? In checks captures, we have check here, that the king can go back up. But what about, how can black defend this? Well, black has queen h5, doesn't he? After rook e7, black has queen h5. This looks like it defends, as now the queen can take back on h7. But after queen h5, you have to take a look at the position in your mind, make an assessment. What checks do I have? Oh, queen g7. You can check now, and that's mate. Oh, he took there. It's just a computer move. You just take the queen, and that's it. So after and the position has changed. Any checks, captures, we can't check here, but after king takes, I think we lose. Any other checks? No. Any captures? No. We have to take a look at the weaknesses in the position. So black is about to queen the pawn. Are we worried about that? I mean, yes, we are. Is there any way we can do anything about it? No, we can't. Let's also take a look at this king. This king is really interestingly placed. If we could somehow play h3 check with protection, then we'd win because that would be checkmate, or close to checkmate. So is there a way we can take advantage of that? Yes, we can. King g3 stops the king from escaping out this way and prepares h2 checkmate. But wait. What about the pawn? Well, we're threatening checkmate, so we don't have to worry about the pawn. After king g3, a8 equals queen, just checkmate. So do we have any checks? No, we don't. Do we have any captures? No, we don't. I mean, yes, we do. I guess we could take on f5, but that's pretty bad. Do we have anything else? Yes, we do have queen takes c7 captures. That's because it's protected by the rook. Do we have anything else? What are the weaknesses of the position? This file is really weak right now, but I don't see any way to take advantage of that. These bishops are pretty strong here, but like I said, this bishop is really weak here. Pretty sure we can just take it. And after queen takes, we take back with the rook. And after that, we just take back with the pawn. So f5, do you have any checks? Yes, we do. Rook to h1 check. Do you have any captures? Oh, we also have bishop c5 check. Do we have any captures? Yes, we can take on f5. Also, let's make an assessment of the position. Our bishop is attacked. Do we have to do something about it? No. I mean, I guess we can move it, but then knight takes f7, for example, and that's pretty bad. Let's go back. Take a look at the checks. Bishop c5 check is a check, and rook to h1 check is a check. What's wrong with rook h1? Well, the king can simply just go to f2 and escape out this way. That's not going to work. So after bishop c5 check, what does he do? Well, after he can go here, just take. So he has to block. Let's slow down. Take a look at after each move. And ask ourselves what has changed in the position. Well, remember when we said that rook h1 didn't work because king escaped to f2? Well, after bishop c5 check, d4, bishop takes c4 check, the only way to block is to go rook f2, and now the king can no longer escape. That would be mate after rook h1. And then it's mate, my friends. Castles looks like an interesting move. Anyways, let's take a look. Can we do any checks? No, we can't. Can we do any captures? Yes, we can capture on, oops. Yes, we can capture on g6. We can, I guess that's it. What in the position, let's make an assessment. What in the position is weak? Do you see any hanging pieces or anything? No. How would we win this position then? The king, I guess we can. I'm actually not sure myself. The king is weak along the dark squares right here. Oops. Right here. And then, I didn't mean to do that. But I don't see a concrete way to take advantage of that. Let's see. However, there is a tactic here. I believe we can push upon an attack. After f6 check, f6, the queen has to move, probably to d7. Then, what in the position has changed? Well, the king can no longer escape this way, and we now have protection on g7, so we can somehow get our queen to h6 and attack g7, then that would win. It's pretty sure it's f6. After queen to e5, we just go to h6, queen h5, then we just checkmate. So queen takes g7. What in the position is a check? We do not have any checks. Can we do any captures? We can capture on b. B takes c3. We can take on a2. Let's see. We can take on f7. What here is good for this a black? Let's take a look at the weaknesses. I guess black has more weaknesses, but we're supposed to win this as black. So how can we do this? So after rook to we can attack. The queen. Okay. So excuse me, my bad. So after you make an assessment of the position, you should be there. A couple questions you should be thinking about. Like I said, you have to think about what are the weaknesses of the position of mine and of my opponents. You should also be thinking about, is there any ways I can attack or create threats? In this position, you can do that with rook to g8. The rook is protected by the queen, and after the queen moves, what in the position has changed? Well, the rook is on g8 now, the queen's on h7. If you take a look, and this is where pattern recognition and doing lots of tactics helps, you'll see that this bishop is eyeing this pawn, but also so is the rook. And after rook takes g2, that looks winning. Oh, that was okay. So in this position, what has changed? Do I have any checks? Yes, I have takes pawn check, and then I have takes pawn check. I have knight e2 check, and I have, well, I guess that's about it. Do I have any captures? Yes, 2 of those checks for captures. I can also take on e4. I can take on c2, which looks like it wins rooks. Okay, so we have that. Do I have anything else? Well, first let's calculate our checks. G takes h2 check. The king just goes to f1. I don't see anything after that. G takes f2 check. Rook takes f2. I don't see anything after that. Let's take a look at the other check. Knight to e2 check. The king goes to there. Is there any way we can put the king in check? Rook takes h2. Yes, that looks like check. Yes. Is there anything else? Do we have captures? G takes h2, and then we don't have anything. But it is because rook takes h2 happens to be checkmate. So do we have any checks here? Yes. We have rook to f1 check, but then queen takes or bishop takes. Do we have any captures? Yes, we have knight takes g4, but then our queen hangs. Do we have any other captures? Knight takes d3, but then our queen hangs still. But remember, after each move, you have to ask yourself, what checks do I have? what changed about this position, and do I have any captures? So after knight takes g4, for example, rook takes e7. Do we have any checks? Yes, we have knight to f2 check. Ooh, but after king g1, we win the queen back, don't we? Yes, we do, and we're up a piece. And also after but what about knight takes c3 d3 check? Well, after rook takes e7, don't we still have this knight f2 check? Yes, but then material is equal. You have to take stock of the position of the material. Material would be equal. This is clearly better. And if knight takes, and then yeah. Anyways, rook takes h7 check. What is the idea behind this move? We can take. We don't have any checks. We don't have any checks. Besides rook takes f2 check. And what happens after rook takes f2 check? The king has to move to here, or block, and then I believe we can safely take. But let's take a deeper look at this position. After king takes, what happens? I guess queen to here check? King to g7, then queen to f6. Oops. Then queen to f6, followed by taking here. That's pretty dangerous. Or, actually, no, I'm stupid. King takes, queen takes. So, what can we do about that? Well, let's take a look at our options. We have rook takes f2 check, when the king either goes to here, or the king goes to here. Or you can block. After the block, I believe we can just take, and then we can take there, because now the queen can no longer take on g6 because it's not protected. But what happens after king to here then? Well, we have if king to here. Do we have any checks? Yes, we can check here. We can check here, and then that's about it. I guess after that we can sacrifice the rook. Queen takes, and then take this rook. That might work out. But the first move is obviously rook takes. And after this, we have a check here on b3. Does that work out? Yes, it looks like it works out. Rook b3, because the king cannot go to here. Escape out this way because the knight. So after queen to b3 check, it looks like we win. Oh, bishop. Oh, wow. Okay, we'll go to a different position. So, do you have any checks? Yes, we do. We have queen takes check. Do we have any captures? This takes on c1. E1 takes on c1. Then we have to make an assessment of the position. What is white threatening? White is threatening takes, maybe. White is also threatening this. Oops, not that. Rook takes c1, something like that. So, what can I do? Do I have any captures? I have rook takes. I have rook takes. I have queen takes. I have queen takes. I have queen takes. I have queen takes, and I have queen takes. Let's go through all the captures one by one. Rook takes. Something like rook takes. No, that's not good actually. But rook takes looks decent, but I don't think it's it. It's not forcing, especially because rook takes e6. C8 is mate next. So let's take a look at this takes, and then when the position has changed. If this, I believe we can just take here, because we're not forced to capture, but that doesn't look like it just because it's not forcing. Let's look at the other takes. This is obviously bad, this is bad, and this wins a pawn, but I don't think it's it. That leaves us with three more. Takes is bad, takes, that's pretty bad. We have this takes too. Rook takes on c1. It looks like we have two attackers, though, and only one defender, so that looks like it wins. Okay, let's do it. Oh, we have takes. What is the idea? After each move, you have to think about what in the position has changed. Well, after king takes, I guess the idea is bishop c4 check. King's there, and then queen takes with threaten checkmate on here. But that doesn't look like it works actually. The queen to here. We have to be very careful here. But we only have one square. Then queen takes, and then takes. So in this position, what has changed? The king no longer can't escape this way. Do we have any checks? Yes. Queen takes. King takes, and that doesn't look like it gets us anywhere. But does it? Let's take a look. After king takes, the king is very vulnerable. The king cannot escape. If we can, we want to play here, but after rook takes, pawn takes, we don't have anything. After queen takes, so king there. Do we have a tactic? Yes, we do. Rook to h4 is checkmate, just because the king cannot escape. I reached this tactical sequence because I figured out. I assessed the position and determined that the king was weak and tried to figure out a way to attack it. And this is the way to attack it. And checkmate. That's mate. So after rook to there, we have to take a look at checks. We have no checks. We have no captures. We have to take assessment of the position here. We are trying to queen this pawn, but the rook is not stopping it. Is there a way we can do it to stop the rook from protecting? Yes. Rook d8. Then what? Rook d8, and then white tries this. But after when the position has changed, we have rook takes, but then black queens his pawn. So how does that work out? Well, after rook takes, queen's pawn, do we have any other moves? We have rook to there check, which looks like it wins. I'm not sure. It looks like we queen our pawn, but it looks like black would get in, white would get in a couple checks. But I'm pretty sure it is takes. And then now we have to be careful as what in the position has changed. Well, white is threatening queen to there, winning the rook in the game. And then we can queen our pawn. It's our turn to move. After queen's pawn, what happens? Queen to here. What do we do after that? I guess we can go here, and then no, here. Well, we have to move our king, and we have to make it in position, determine that it is not losing, and I'm pretty sure it's not losing. Okay, yeah, since we are up a rook in that position. So here, what in the position strikes me? We have a capture. We have no checks. We have a capture here. We have a threat of a fork here. We have a fork here, but then queen takes e6 is tough. And then, but you have to take a look at everything. You have to make an assessment. Does queen takes f2 work? King takes f2. No, it doesn't look like it works. Oh, wait, what about that fork idea we had? If the king is on f2, it comes a check, then we can take the queen. We'd be up a piece. That was a quick decision, just because I made an assessment of the weak position, I made an assessment of the position, determined the queen and rook were awkwardly placed, and figured out a way to take advantage of that. So after here, when the position has changed, do you have any checks? No. Do I have any captures? No, not really. How can I take advantage of this? Well, the first thing that strikes me is that we have an attack. We have e4 attack, making the bishop move, attack the bishop, make the bishop move to g6. After that, what in the position has changed? Well, we have our pawn here, bishop is here or here. Can we push e5 and fork them? Yes, we can. So bishop g4, then we just fork. Then take wins. So after this move, do we have any checks? We have bishop takes. That's not a check, though. That's about it. But after bishop takes, this is hanging. So what can we do about that? Well, we have bishop takes, but like I said, queen takes e1, and that's pretty bad. It looks like white has a perpetual back and forth here. But is there a way we can attack the queen and, or protect the rook? Well, we can play bishop to here, which protects the rook and attacks the queen, and then we can play bishop takes probably. After queen to here, does that work out? Pretty sure it does. We also have bishop takes g6, but that doesn't g7, but that doesn't work because it's protected. Pretty sure it's this. Oh, okay. Okay, what was that? What was that? Oh, okay. Remember when I was saying, we're gonna go over this. But now we have to take a look at the position. But do we have any checks? Yes, we have queen takes check, but then the queen takes back. Does that work out though? Because then the rook is on hanging. Is hanging. I did a very quick assessment, determined that something that changed in the position because the queen is no longer protecting the rook, and then I can take advantage of that. Just because after queen takes check, and then it gets checked, and then I'm up a ton of material. Okay, guys, last one. Do I have any checks? Yes, I do. Check. The king is checked. The king has to move to here, here, or to here, and then what in the position has changed? If f6, what happens too? Well, we also have. Do we have anything else? We have captures. We have captures, but that doesn't look like it's it. What can we do? Well, I think we also have captures. Captures? When the position has changed. Can we promote our pawn? Yes, we can. Pretty sure that's it. And then we win because we're upper rook. Okay, so that was a nice puzzle. So just in every position and every time you're calculating, don't forget before you start calculating moves. Well, I guess after you capture like things like checks and stuff like that, you have to and after you calculate captures after every single move. And no matter what you're doing, whether it's puzzles or you're playing a chess game, you have to think in your has changed about this position, and you have to redo your evaluation. Basically, you have to, after every single move you make, you have to redo. Do I have any checks? Do I have any captures? Stuff like that. After every single time you do a move, you have to think about stuff like that. And I really hope that after you implement all of this into your chess study, that you can and into your chess, that you can get better at tactics, get better at puzzles, and become a better player. And thank you for watching. I hope that you learned a lot from this, and have a nice day.